The circle's chamber buzzed with whispers after Elena's refusal. The regent raised his hand, and silence fell like a blade. Strength, he said at last, pacing slowly. So rare. So dangerous. Yet, perhaps useful. His words unsettled the masked figures. Some nodded with approval, others stiffened in disapproval. Clara's face, however, was the most revealing. Her smile was there, but it was strained, brittle. She had not expected Elena to resist. The stranger, still bound at the pillar, gave the faintest of nods, a spark of pride, even in his pain. The regent's gaze shifted back to Elena. You will not be punished. Not yet. Instead, you will be tested further. Fail, and his life ends. Succeed, and perhaps he lives. A shiver ran through her. The game was far from over. Later, they led her back to her chamber. Clara accompanied her, unusually quiet. Gone was the playful hum in her voice, replaced by silence heavy with tension. Elena, Clara said finally, closing the door behind them. Why did you defy him? Elena's throat was dry. Because it was the truth. Clara's eyes lingered on her, searching. Then, in a whisper softer than the silk sheets draped across the bed, she said, Be careful. The regent rewards strength, but the circle doesn't forget weakness. They'll test you until you break. For the first time, Clara's expression cracked. Not cruel. Not triumphant. Something else stout. That night, Elena tossed in bed, her mind replaying Clara's words. She remembered how quickly Clara had appeared in the garden, how she had intercepted her at the gate. Clara was clearly the regent's hand, but was she also something more? Sleep came in fragments. And when Elena woke in the pale blue light of dawn, she wasn't alone. A folded note rested on her vanity, slipped under the door. Her heart raced as she unfolded it. You're not the only one. Watch carefully. Allies wear masks too. The handwriting was elegant, unfamiliar. Elena's pulse hammered. Someone inside the circle was reaching out. As she stared into the mirror, the painted face of Elena stared back, softer, adorned with pearls and ribbons. But behind the gloss, her own eyes burned brighter than before. The circle wanted obedience. But Elena now had something they hadn't accounted for, a will sharpened by defiance, and the possibility of an ally within their own ranks. For the first time, she wasn't just surviving. She was plotting. The note burned in Elena's hand long after she had read it. You're not the only one. Watch carefully. Allies wear masks too. The circle's power seemed absolute, yet someone from within had dared to slip her a lifeline. But who? At breakfast, Elena sat at a long mahogany table draped in lace. The circle's ladies, others molded like her, draped in pastel gowns and pearls, sat in silence, sipping tea, their movements graceful but mechanical. Each one looked perfect, but Elena wondered, how many of them still remembered who they really were? Clara poured her tea, her eyes calm but unreadable. You'll be called for rehearsal soon, she said softly. The regent has planned a performance. A performance? Elena echoed, her spoon trembling in her hand. Clara's smile returned. You'll see. The rehearsal chamber was a mirrored hall where masked instructors drilled her steps. She was taught to curtsy deeper, to smile longer, to walk with even shorter strides. Every correction chipped at her nerves. But between the instructors' voices, she noticed something. A glance. A hand signal. One of the masked women, tall, dressed in emerald silk, kept flicking her gaze toward Elena's sleeve. At first Elena thought it was a mistake, until she looked down later and saw another note tucked discreetly into her cuff. Her heart pounded as she read it in secret. Trust no one except the one who falters. We see you. Tonight, after the banquet. At the banquet that evening, Elena's senses were sharpened. The hall glittered with chandeliers, the circle's laughter echoing against marble walls. The regent watched her like a hawk, every smile and curtsy weighed and measured. But Elena's eyes scanned the masked figures. The one who falters. And then she saw it. A masked man, carrying a goblet, stumbled slightly as if he had lost his balance. The mistake was small, nearly imperceptible, but in this world of perfect poise, it stood out. When his eyes met hers, they lingered just a second too long. Elena's pulse quickened. She had found her ally. Later that night, as the guests dispersed and music faded, Elena felt a hand brush hers beneath the table. A folded scrap of parchment pressed into her palm. She slipped it into her sleeve without looking, her heart hammering. Back in her chamber, with the door locked, she unfolded it. Tomorrow, the regent will test you again. If you want freedom, meet me in the library at midnight. Come alone. Elena stared at the words, her reflection in the mirror pale and wide-eyed. The circle wanted to mold her. The regent wanted to own her. Clara wanted to control her. But now, she had a choice. An ally hidden among the masks. And perhaps, her first real chance at escape. The mansion's corridors seemed alive at night, each creak of the floorboards echoing like an accusation. Elena wrapped a shawl around her lavender gown and slipped barefoot along the marble floors, her heart hammering in her chest. Every shadow looked like Clara. Every draft whispered with the regent's voice. But she pressed forward. To the library. The door loomed ahead, carved oak, etched with serpents that seemed to coil in the moonlight. It was slightly ajar. Elena pushed it open, her breath trembling. Inside, shelves towered toward the ceiling, stacked with leather-bound tomes. Candles flickered, throwing long shadows. And there, waiting, was the figure in the emerald silk mask. You came, the voice said, low and cautious. It was a woman's voice, calm but urgent. She stepped closer, lowering her mask just enough for Elena to glimpse her face, sharp cheekbones, eyes dark with weariness. My name doesn't matter, she whispered. But know this, I was once like you. Elena's breath caught. Like me. The woman nodded. Taken. Broken. Rebuilt. I was remade into what they wanted. But, unlike the others, I remembered. I watched. And I waited. She pulled a thick ledger from the shelves and opened it. The ink was old but legible, lists of names. Elena's eyes widened. Dozens of names. Each crossed out and replaced with new ones. Ethan. Clara. Dozens of others. All erased and rewritten with softer, feminine identities. Elena's hands shook. They've been doing this for years. The woman's jaw tightened. Decades. And once the old name is gone, the circle owns you. Body, voice, memory, even your reflection. Elena felt the room tilt. Then why help me? Because you did what none of us dared, the woman said. You defied the regent. You reminded us of what it means to resist. If you survive the next trial, you can break their grip. But if you fail, the door creaked. Both women froze. Clara stepped inside, her polka-dot dress fluttering in the candlelight. But her usual smile was gone. I warned you, Elena, she said softly, her eyes narrowing on the ledger. Curiosity here is not survival. It's treason. Elena's pulse raced, her body rigid. The woman in emerald silk snapped the book shut and shoved it into Elena's hands. Run, she hissed. Take it. Clara advanced, her voice low and dangerous. You don't understand what you're holding. Give it to me, and maybe I'll keep you safe. Elena's knuckles whitened around the ledger. For the first time, she saw Clara's mask fully crack, not the polite handler, not the smiling guide. Something darker. Something desperate. She realized then that the circle's perfect facade was already fracturing. And she was holding the proof. The library air grew heavy, thick with candle smoke and tension. Elena clutched the ledger to her chest, its leather cover warm from her grip. Clara's eyes glittered, her voice silk wrapped around steel. Give it here, Elena. You don't know what you're carrying. Behind her, the masked woman in emerald silk stepped closer, her voice low but firm. Don't listen. That book is proof. It's the circle's soul. With it, you could tear them down. Elena's pulse raced, her eyes darting between them. Clara, the one who had guided her, dressed her, whispered lessons into her ear. And the masked woman's stranger yet ally, offering rebellion in the shadows. For a moment, her legs trembled so hard she thought she'd fall. But then her gaze flicked to the ledger's open edge. She caught a glimpse of her own name written in ink. Ethan Hale, crossed out. Elena Hale, inscribed beneath. Her stomach dropped. This wasn't just proof. It was her erasure, written in permanent ink. No, Elena whispered, her grip tightening. This belongs to me. Clara's expression hardened, the sweet mask falling away entirely. You don't understand what you're inviting. If you take that book, you'll make enemies you can't escape. The masked woman leaned in, urgent. She already has. The moment she defied the regent, her fate was sealed. The only question left is whether she dies as their doll, or lives as herself. The room crackled with silence, every heartbeat a countdown. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. The regent's voice carried, calm and commanding. Is she inside? Panic surged. Clara's eyes widened for the first time, her composure breaking. She looked at Elena, then at the masked woman. If he finds you with that ledger, it's over. The masked woman grabbed Elena's arm. There's a hidden passage behind the shelves. Come now. Clara stepped forward, blocking the path, her voice sharp. Don't trust her. She's only using you. Give me the book, Elena, and I can still protect you. The door handle rattled. The regent was seconds away. Elena's breath came fast, her knuckles white against the ledger. Her mind screamed with choices. Run with the masked woman and risk the unknown passage. Trust Clara. Even though her mask had cracked, she had saved Elena before. Stand alone and face the regent with the book in her hands. The door creaked open. The regent's shadow spilled across the floor. And Elena knew, whatever she chose in the next heartbeat would decide everything. The library door swung open, and the regent's silhouette filled the frame. Torchlight spilled around him, silver chain gleaming against his dark coat. Elena, his voice rolled like thunder, calm, but deadly. What have you found? Her heart thrashed in her chest. Behind her, the masked woman tugged at her sleeve toward the hidden passage. Clara stood rigid in front, eyes locked on the ledger, every inch of her body radiating fear. Elena's hands trembled, but she held the ledger tighter. The truth, she whispered, surprising even herself. The regent's gaze flicked to Clara. Step aside. For a flicker of a second, Clara hesitated. It was enough for Elena to realize something shocking. Clara wasn't just afraid of her. She was afraid of him. Elena, Clara said, voice low, trembling. Please, give it to me. Don't make this worse. The masked woman hissed in her ear, if you hand it over, you'll never be free. He'll erase you completely. The regent's footsteps echoed as he advanced. Bring it to me, child. And I may yet spare your friend. His gaze shifted toward the bruised stranger still bound in the chamber below. The walls closed in. Elena felt herself drowning between their voices, their demands, their power. But something inside her, that stubborn flicker of Ethan, that spark of resistance, rose to the surface. She stepped forward, clutching the ledger to her chest, and lifted her chin. No! The words split the air like lightning.